So my name is Matthew, for those who haven't met, and this is actually this is one of my favorite classes over the past probably 3 years, kind of exploration, and that is creating time and productivity. So this is going to be quite a bit of me trying to live longer. That's really what this class boils down to. So 12 years ago now, 12 and a half years ago, walking up the back steps of this very building to teach a class, I started realizing that the 2 days of chest pains and problems breathing I had were not just angina or GERD or whatever I thought it was. And after 10 years being paramedic, you would think that I probably knew the signs of a heart attack a lot better than I did. And so I taught my class. I left here, went to my friend's doctor's office. He looked at me for 15 minutes and said, "We're calling a hospital and an ambulance, and that's where you're going to be." So he actually nice enough to ride with me to the hospital. And then I spent a few days there with what they diagnosed as a mild heart attack. When you're 30-something years old, mild and heart attack are not two words you want to hear together.
When was this?
This was right before when I was on staff here.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I quit. No, it's not. But a lot was going on. I never slept. I've had insomnia since I was a child. I worked, 3 or 4 in the morning, went to bed for 2 hours, got up, did it again, and was trying to manage a lot and wasn't doing it very well. And that was after, at that point, almost 9 years, I guess, or so, being an agent. And then I left and took on the role I have now, which was overseeing a lot more and teaching and not really managing my time, and it had other health effects. So I started really diving deeply into what can I do, what technology is out there, what resources are out there to be better at managing who I was and how I was going to proceed with my life. And so a lot of this came about doing just that. So again, for those who don't know me, I do speak all over the country, sometimes outside of it, and right now a whole lot more outside of it because I can just pre-record and let it go. As an instructor, as a broker, as an agent, I still actively list and sell. The question is always, how do you get that much done? And it's a lot of alchemy, it's a lot of mystery, and it's a lot of lying about what I'm doing with my time. And really, to me, there's so much darkness with COVID, but there was also a lot of really good spots for me, and that was realigning who I was. And one of the quotes that I now have covered up here, that really, I printed this out and laminated it because everything had to be laminated for me, and put it on my desk. Thomas Edison said, "Being busy does not always mean real work. The object of all work is production or accomplishment. In either of these ends, there must be forethought, system planning, intelligence, and honest purpose, as well as perspiration. Seeming to do is not doing." And we do a lot of things as real estate agents specifically that is seeming to do. You get up in the morning and your best intent at the end of the day is to complete that market analysis and to get ready for that listing presentation. And we know we have to do that at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning when we get up. We know that's the only thing we have to do all day. And then, well, did you hear what was going on with these 2 people in the office? Did you hear what was happening with that company? Your kids are texting you, asking for things. The dogs need to walk. And at 6:15 at night, you're like, screw it. I'm going to smile real big, show them 4 homes that sold last year, and hope they hire me as a listing agent. And we're not putting forth our best work. And we're seeming to do. We get done at the end of the day, we go to bed, we have no idea what our day was spent on. And the next morning, we wake up and go, this is disaster. It's not a way to manage a long-term career. And quite frankly, it's the end of most real estate agents' career, is the lack of being able to organize chaos. So we're going to talk about a few things that I think will hopefully, they're going to challenge you because they definitely challenged me, but they're also going to open up some permissions for yourself. And one of those is your brain is not for having, or is for having ideas, it's not for holding them. One of the very first techniques that I started implementing to help me focus on sleeping well and living better was to make notes of things. And it started with pen and paper, and then I realized I'm not that person. It has to be digital, except for next to my bed at night. So when I roll over at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I got that great idea. Our brains are designed to work through problems until resolution. And so when you go to bed at night and you have an unresolved home inspection argument, or you have a great idea, or you took a class and something resonated with you that you want to do, your brain needs resolution for that. Writing it down, putting it in a place you will remember it, releases your brain to create more ideas focus on more creative ways to resolve problems than trying to remember things. You're burning too many calories in that brain doing that. And that feeling of exhaustion is because your brain requires 80% of your body's energy every day. When you are in overdrive, it's like an overheating computer. And so when we establish the idea that we aren't supposed to be memorizing things anymore. I mean, I still remember the phone number I had as a little kid growing up at home, right? That has no value to me whatsoever. I remember it. But that person I met 15 minutes ago, I have no idea who they were. I won't remember their name because I'm trying too hard to focus on the conversation with them, being engaging, being a good listener. And there's all sorts of tricks in word association. But our brains don't work as memory. They're not hard drives. They are calculators. And so we want to start with that premise, that while knowing that our brains are calculators and not hard drives per se, multitasking isn't a real thing. So when you're on the phone with somebody, have you ever been on the phone with somebody who's shopping? And like, you're not paying attention to the word they're saying. And like, you have to right pause, you go, yeah. And they're like, are you listening to me? You're like, yeah, as you're lifting up your jockey shorts or your t-shirt or, whatever you're buying that day and whatever you're focused on pricing. When we're driving a car, if we're on the phone talking, we are only giving 38% of our attention to driving. Now, some people, Kevin, have probably made it home with giving zero focus to the process of getting there. But when you look at this, and again, from 10 years of being a medic and as a law enforcement officer, most of the accidents we had were distracted drivers, not actually DUIs. Most of the deadly accidents and preventable accidents had to do with DUIs, but those individuals are hyper-focused on getting home. That's why if you've ever got that relative who's a big drinker and you're like, how the hell have they not wound up incarcerated for drinking and driving? It's because they're actually giving full attention to doing the speed limit, not getting caught, not swerving and trying to get there. They are actually less likely to cause an accident than someone talking on their phone, especially if they're having an argument. And so we're not good multitaskers. We don't do it well. If I pick up the phone, Paige calls me while I'm in the car driving, and I know that it's Paige, she's working the other side of a transaction. My anticipation is going to be that she is calling about that home inspection that they did yesterday. Why am I picking up the phone in my car when I can't take notes? I can't problem solve. I'm still going to say, hey, Paige, can you email that information to me so I can review it because I can't process it in my head. I have wasted two people's time. Instead of letting her leave a voicemail and then text her back and going or calling back and saying, hey, I was driving. Let's go over that now. I have actually doubled and tripled sometimes my work and effort because I think I can multitask, because I think people need my attention. What they need is my undivided attention. That's how we progress. With divided attention, someone's standing at your door, you're watching TV or listening to something else while you're talking to someone, you divide your attention and you're less effective. Setting the morning really matters. And so for real estate agents especially, we like to reach over. This is the first thing we grab in the morning, and we want to see who's got a better life than we are, who cooked a better meal, who looks like crap but thinks they look cute. Oh my God, did you see how horrible that listing photo was? That's the first thing we do. We reach over and grab this device, and it's ruining us. Not only the psychological impact as we know it on social media now, but because that 5 minutes you thought you checked was 45 minutes. Now you're on the toilet, your butt's numb, your knees are numb, you're tired, you're sick and tired of everybody, and it's not even 8 o'clock. And it's just me. All right, so it's fine. But you're talking about no, remember. Social media is what we call infinity pools. You can get lost in there and never find the bottom of it. You can sort through, you can review, you can do stuff all day long. For us as real estate agents, social media is a marketing tool. None of you are sitting there looking at your brochures for an hour each morning. It's a marketing tool. It needs to be targeted. It needs to be adapted to our business plan, not us adapting to them. And when you get on there and get lost in the day and you start arguing, or in your mind you read something you don't like, or someone made a stupid post, you now utilize some of that calculator effort in your brain to do other things that aren't beneficial to you. You do have to eat. I spent probably most of my life until about 4 years ago not eating breakfast hardly at all, and still gain weight. But that breakfast actually is what gives fuel for a brain to work, and it's critical in the morning. You can skip lunches, you can go light in other places, but breakfasts are necessary. It also, believe it or not, scientifically reduces the anxiety of your day to have a full stomach, because your body is trying to focus on survival now when it feels unfed and unnourished. Positive comments says positive days. I laugh at people still. And for those of you who know Dallas, our VP of marketing, she is the power pose princess. She will get students to stand up and do this. I have, in my entire career, never done a power pose other than mock power poses or affirmation in the classroom. And when I see the instructor, you can smell an instructor going, guys, all right, let's get up. That's when I just mysteriously need to go to the bathroom or I need to go take a call. I will exit the classroom every time. But I'm not sitting there talking in the mirror saying, I'm going to be great, I'm awesome. You've all seen that video from now 12 years ago, a little girl in the mirror giving herself the affirmation.
Well, actually, I picture you doing that now every time. Okay.
But I get up in the morning and go, you know what? This is a great career. This is where I was meant to be at this point in my life. I've got clients who like me. I've got agents who need me. I don't know if they like me, but they need me. I've got people depending on me, and it's because I have a resource education level or a set of knowledge that's beneficial to someone. And there are people out there who are panhandling. If nothing else, we can start that day with going, hey, at least God showed on us enough to give us a career, whether we're having a bad day or not, at least we have something to rely on. And for us as agents, we're entrepreneurs, we have our own business, right? We have some freedom to do what we want to do. There's always something to start each day with positive focus about what you're doing and the work you have to do. It's not that oh my God, I've got to call those sellers back. It's like, at least I have clients that I can contact. It's got to be a change of focus, and it starts each morning. Everything is reset to neutral space the night before. Now, Kevin joked about yelling at my kids for cleaning the house. We had 3 daughters, and when those little precious treasures came into our lives, I was like, great, 3 little girls with pinkness and happiness. They are the biggest pigs I've ever met in my life.
Mine too, yeah.
It is, they are utterly disgusting animals. I'm so glad they've all moved out of my house now. My wife and I are utterly organized people. Like everything is always in place. We don't leave the room unless the bed's made. Everything is clean. And when we get busy, we have a maid service for it. I love cutting the grass because straight lines in the yard makes me happy. My daughters walk through the door and just start shedding crap I didn't even know they owned all over the place. This one actually, I started changing my focus to my digital life as well. When I go to bed at night, there is nothing on the desktop. Some of you have computers where there's 5,000 PDFs, screenshots, downloads.
See nothing.
There you go. There is an impact on our brain that defocuses us from productivity to the mess. Our brains try to organize things. Again, they're calculators and spreadsheets. And so that distracts you from what you're trying to do. Your physical space, including your digital space, needs to be organized and things need to be found. Every agent I know has stacks of paper somewhere hidden, and they go, I know exactly where it is. Science has told us that it takes 40% longer to find something in a stack than if you have it where it's supposed to be. And especially in a day and age where digitizing things means I can quickly search for my computer. I haven't had a shred of paper in my life in 5 years. If somebody sends it to me, I scan it on my phone, I put it where it needs to be. It's done. No one's going to give me paper, except for Lauren giving me the passcode right now. And then you have to plan your day the night before. You need to know what your expectations of yourself are when you get up in the morning. Spending a couple minutes at night to say, here's what I need to do today, helps bring focus so your brain can sleep because you have now organized the next steps. There's a really good book called Getting Things Done. And I love the book. I will say the author is a little antagonistic towards technology, so we're going to let him be a cranky old person because the rest of his premises are good. And I did forget, how long am I supposed to speak?
We can go till 11:30 or.
Okay, so 9 tomorrow morning, we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Go 24 hours of
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure because I wasn't sure with your me. I didn't want to.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. So in getting things done, there were 5 steps every morning that are preached in this book and illustrated in this book that we should be doing in order to ensure we have the most productive day. It starts with capture or collecting our things that we need to do, making a list of those things that are important. Clarifying the process. If I know that I have a market analysis, and I keep using market analysis because to me, CMAs are the most time-intensive thing that I have to do, and it always seems to be that the client wants to meet in 2 days from now. And so I, like most people, try to get to it as soon as I can, but it's very often the day of the meeting. So capturing what I need to do. I know I have to do a market analysis. Clarifying what steps are needed. I need to pull comps. I need to update my presentation. I need to embed videos. I need to get, I need to do the absorption rate pricing model. Those things, plus I hate math, so this is also the thing I hate doing most. These things, this is a process. And in order to do that market analysis, I need about 90 minutes of uninterrupted time. And then I'm going to organize what I need to do. So if I need to send an email to Tatiana reminding her of something, and that email is very brief, I know that my process is I need 5 minutes for this. I need to send her the addendum. I need to draft it and send it at maybe 5 or 10 minutes. That CMA is a bigger thing. The big thing in your day that must be done, and there can only be one a day, needs to be called a highlight. And so the highlight of your day for your tasks, and again, in our scenario here will be that CMA. I'm going to organize all the things I need to get done. Now, for me to feel accomplished, I will typically tackle the things that can get done most quickly. So I show myself progress towards those ends. So if it's drafting a quick addendum where I already know the language I need, sending it off for signatures, updating a brochure because of a price reduction, relaunching a social media campaign, those are all 5 to 10 minute tasks that we do what's called task batching. So 1 hour a day is task batching, where I can do a whole bunch of quick, easy things to get them off the plate. So I make room for my brain to focus on doing better work for my market analysis. I'm going to reflect on that plan, and then I'm going to execute on it and go do those things. Now, one of the biggest enemies of productivity in a real estate agent's life is the gotta minutes, whether you're a broker or whether you're an agent, someone texting you, someone popping in unannounced, someone stopping. And we want to be people. We think that answering the call and answering the text messages are important, and being quick and responsive is important. What we fail to understand that when we focus on clients, they want substantive discussion, not quick discussion. And so if they can feel heard in a 30-minute phone conversation as opposed to a 5-minute text, they will wait for the more substantive conversation. Now, there are some things that are urgent. There's something I have to drop. But it is amazing to me how, and I'll say this as an instructor, people will call who schedule for a class and go, I can't make class today. I have a home inspection negotiation that's going south. Well, how much of your day are you really spending on that? Because my guess is you're not on the phone for the entire 8 hours of the day. What you have said is, I prioritize this disaster over my own education, my own development, and solving problems better later. These are all priorities. When I was, I worked in IT for about 2 years when I was 18, and I had a very, very good mentor. And he identified very early that I was a disaster person. Again, I started as an EMS, as an EMT at 16. And so I had been programmed as a teenager that you responded to disaster. We didn't control it, we didn't manage it, we responded to it. And so when I started working in computers for that brief period of time, he said, I need you to take this class. He said, I'm going to buy you the day timer system. And this is, remember, this is in the very early 90s. That was, at the time, about a $400 system. And for someone making $9 an hour, $400 time management system, it was very sexy too. A little leather book, and it had all your folders, and there was this whole system into it. Awesome. And they were the best. And like, you kept it, right? You took your year, you put it in a box and a shelf, and went, look at the year I had. But the founder of that system was a guy named Hiram Smith. Hiram Smith later partnered with Franklin from Franklin Covey. You guys all heard. Mr. Covey wrote a book, a very popular book that just lost my mind. Anyway, so Franklin Covey's system was actually originated with Hiram Smith, and he did a class for IBM in the late 80s for all their executive and salespersons. And to listen to the class, it was 22 cassette tapes. It was super big.
So what's that, 45 minutes? No, I'm just
kidding.
kidding.
And at the end of listening to all these cassette tapes, I understood the system and management and like how to run my day. And I thought this was super cool. I was really, really excited about it. But the one thing that I actually remember from all those cassettes, other than the basic premise, was the illustration he did. Now, think back to the Twin Towers before they were destroyed, and you're standing on top of one. There's a 4-inch plank between you and the other tower and 60-mile-an-hour wind. Someone on the other side has a $100 bill. We won't walk across that plank and risk our lives with a $100 bill. It's just not going to happen. Someone has your child on the other side, and the only way to save their life is to go across the plank. Do you take the walk? Sure. We're going to at least try. Whether we die or not, at least try. What we've established is our priorities. $100 wasn't worth my life. The child's life was worth the risk of my life. As real estate agents and business professionals, entrepreneurs, we make those choices all the time. When you tell your child that you can't make their soccer game because of a client coming in, and you have told that child that your client's more important. Now, they don't think about the fact that paying the mortgage is more important. They think about the fact that the client became more important. And if I'm working with a client, if Michael and I have a schedule tonight at 6 o'clock to meet to talk about listing his home, from 6 to 7:30, 8 o'clock, however long it takes, he is my priority. And if any other client calls me at that time and wants to meet, I can't because I have an appointment with Michael. Why would our family be any different? My family became appointments. Wednesday nights was play with the kids, do whatever I needed to do, give Jennifer a break so she could go out with her friends. And it was every other Wednesday night, and it went on a calendar. And if someone said, "Can we do a listing on Wednesday night?" the answer was no, I have an appointment. And that way my children knew it wasn't that I was just checking the box. It was, this was time that was dedicated to them, and the phone went away. We have to set our priorities during the day. And we often do that by our actions. And sometimes we don't even consider what we're setting. Any task that you have in the getting things done program, if it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it. Don't put it on the list because it's going to take as long to put it on the list and organize it as it is just to do the thing. Quickly responding to email, for example, I don't know, whatever your 2-minute thing is, just do the 2-minute thing. The other premise that I adopted was mise en place, which is French for everything in its place. If you're a culinary person or a chef, this is very important. And I do a lot of cooking, and I get very frustrated. I don't know why it's a trigger for me, because I'm very patient with my family, very, very patient with them, because you have to be. Killing them is not an option. But when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, I presume everything is where it needs to be. So I don't pull out every knife or every strainer, every item that I need before I start cooking, because I know, or spice, because I know where it is it's supposed to be there. And when it's not, it throws everything else off, right? I've lost my rhythm and my focus. Your physical environment and your digital environment both need to have some organization and structure. Everything needs to be in its place. Folders for email, folders for your documents, clean workspace, your office. Everything is square to my office when I leave. I have an office downtown that I've seen twice in the past year and a half. But when I go in there, I know when other people borrowed it. There's a few people who have keys to it. It's a little bit bigger space. It's got a meeting table, it's got a living room set up. And so I know that they have casual meetings in there. And I know this because I can tell when the least thing is out of place. It doesn't bother me. Now, I have a team member who likes to leave her coffee cups in my office all the time.
She did that to me when she worked for me too.
Yeah, more
Just
than
so
once
you know.
I went and
Yeah.
stacked 6 of them up on
Exactly.
her desk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had to do that too. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah. So, so the rest, everybody else is pretty conscientious, but coffee cups get littered around the office. But I know when things are out of place, and it's not that it bothers me. I'm not that OCD about it. But I know it's out of place because I've ensured that it's exactly where I need to be when I sit down. So my brain is not focused on restructuring a room or finding things. It's focused on the production, the person I'm engaged with, or the next project that I'm doing. There are 7 practices in addition to those morning practices. These are 7 life practices. One is a disciplined life. You are capable of disciplining yourself. This lie that we tell ourselves, I'm just not disciplined. That's why I can't lose weight. That's why I'm never on time. That's why I can't get my work done. That's why I can't find time to market. Those are priority issues, not discipline issues. We make choices about our priorities. Sitting in the office and gossiping is the worst thing to real estate agents ever. Like I've never understood it. I've been to several companies where they always had the same little group. And I've never been part of those groups because, quite frankly, my presumption is if they're sitting there talking with me about somebody else, then the second I leave, I'm the next target. So I don't really need to be part of that. But the disciplined life is looking at what am I doing with my time? Watching the TV in the morning to get caught up on the news, sorting through social media. Those are times that you could have been sharpening your marketing skills, reaching out to clients, building a better understanding of a contract. Paperless practices, and I know a lot of people actually, I get every time I teach this class, there's people who bristle with this one. Paper's killing you. Losing things out of order, have to sort through things and look for it instead of being able to quickly search is a huge problem in our industry. And again, it's 2021. We took our company paperless 7 years ago. The morning we decided we needed to shut down for a while because of COVID, within hours, everybody was working from home and it was no disruption in our business because everything was there on paper. An agent calls me or calls Kevin, I'm sure they have the same thing. I can look at their contracts right here on the phone if they've done the paperless part. Sending something, being able to grab it while you're standing in line at the grocery store. Somebody says, can you send me that home inspection? I sure can. I know exactly where it is. It's right here. It's paperless. I can send it. Having a focused effort. I am the worst at this. For years, I have spent working on creative work while watching a television show. And generally speaking, it's an 80s show because I've memorized them. And I mean, who has not memorized Knight Rider and A-Team and now Miami Vice? My wife and I started watching Buck Rogers. Oh my God, that is the most misogynistic crap.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It did not age well at all.
It did not.
Yeah.
That Aaron chick is still hot. I don't know what to tell you. See, the little kid, I remember going, I want to be the faithfulman's boyfriend.
I've been watching Golden Girls lately.
Okay, there you go. Because you've become that age, or now you can relate to them. I can't relate to Buck Rogers. I'm sorry, I'm trying, but it doesn't happen. But when I started turning that off and listening to music, especially nice, not to tell you how the ambience in my office, but I have to do a lot of writing for it. I get a lot of projects require a lot of writing. And a couple candles, and it's the man cave, so calm down. I get the man-smelling candles just in case you guys are wondering. But piano music and being just kind of focused on what I'm doing really helped. And I've found, even through how many words per minute I'm producing, tempo of music matters. The lack of other distractions matter. And I'm going to talk about some apps in just a couple minutes. But especially the newest release of Apple's Focus Time, it turns off all the alerts when I open certain apps. When I open up Word, all of a sudden, there's no little red badges, there's no notification, there's no anything. It makes a huge impact in focusing. For agents, especially those who are struggling in their business, when I ask them, how much time in the past week have you spent focused on client creation, it's almost zero. The most important thing to building your career is client creation and engagement. Yet it is the one thing that almost no agent gives any time to.
Because it's easier to run from crisis to crisis.
That's right. Because
Now they think they're busy.
Because I feel like I'm busy
Yep.
answering the phone for the 15th time about why the house isn't selling when last month.
Yeah.
My neighbors got 16 offers over the week.
Yep.
Focused effort is really, really important. And not chasing little red dots. This is a discipline. And I have really espoused it. And now I'm reading another book that made me go to a whole different ridiculous level. Called Digital Minimalism. So I've turned on, no notifications come on when the screen's off. I've turned off the vibration on my watch unless there's something going on that I need to be attracted to it. Because 90% of the text messages you and I get are crap and don't matter. They can wait till much, much later. But what do? We see it and respond. It's also a matter of training others. So for example, like all of you, I get countless text messages all day long. Text message is the absolute worst business tool that anybody's ever adopted. Because what it says is when I send Kevin a text message, I'm saying, I don't care what else is going on. This is the priority. My message is the priority. And our brains responded to that. We've been trained to that, whether it's social media or not. Have you ever noticed that if you just take 2 days break from Facebook, all of a sudden Facebook's sending you emails, hey, did you see what so-and-so posted? And now what do you got to do? You got to log in because you're like, oh, and Instagram is the worst. So-and-so hasn't posted in a long time. They just posted. Go see what they did.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah.
And they only do that when they have sense that you haven't engaged enough. And we've let ourselves be trained by all these things to respond on their terms. Now, what happens is if I'm in this meeting and I'm teaching and talking right now, and someone text messages me, and I look at it quickly and go, okay, I need to get back to them. The little red dot disappears. They're not highlighted anymore. 16 more text messages come in, and guess what? I've forgotten all about them. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I go to email, I can manage it. We chase little red dots all day long. We let the little red dots tell us what our priorities are instead of saying, I can do task batching this afternoon, spend the 1 hour responding to all the text messages and all the emails, not being interrupted 15 times a day, and not letting my brain get defocused on what I'm doing and send in other places. We have to demand more of others. I have to tell my staff, don't text me things. This is what Teams is for. This is what ClickUp is for, my assistant. This is for my family. If it's something I need to address, like, again, my daughters are now scattered to the winds because they're getting married and taking jobs in other foreign lands, like Dallas. Then I said, email me if you need an attachment, if you need my attention to something, I get to you later. Text should be for funny things that it doesn't matter or for emergencies, because I just won't be able to respond to it. But it also goes to deeper levels with real estate. I won't refer my clients to a termite company that doesn't let me set up the termite inspections by email or on their webpage.
Yeah, exactly.
If I got to pick up the phone and call well and septic, termite, or home inspector, they won't go to my referral list anymore. Yeah. because that's making me function on their response level instead of me being able to manage all these folks who are service providers to my clients tonight. That doesn't mean I can't have my clients work with them, but I have a system. So if it's a home inspector and Michael's my buyer and I'm setting up the home inspection for him, I give him the list of 3 home inspectors, he chooses one. To give him those lists of 3, it's going to be a home inspector who manages it by email, doesn't require a phone call, and also takes credit card payments on site instead of requiring checks, because who the hell has a checkbook anymore?
Yeah.
I honestly haven't had a checkbook in 6 years. Every time we have to write a check, I got to go to the bank to get a counter check. You'd think I'd pay the $20 to get a checkbook, but I don't know. It's going to expire. I don't know how checks work anymore. But thank you for the like giggle. You sure people with me. But I have to demand more of others. That includes my service providers. So my settlement attorneys, I'm going to be using DTR or dot loop or whatever. They want the deal. I'm going to add them to the room and they can go get it there instead of me emailing. Loan officers are the worst. How many loan officers call you a week later going, could you send me that addendum? Yeah, the one I sent you a week ago?
Exactly.
Sure, because they've got a cluster of emails in their system that they don't know how to search or work through. So these folks need to work on a unified platform. And it works. Our septic guy one day, he said, how come you don't refer me anymore? Because this is when you're having lunch with somebody, this is what you want the septic guy coming in and asking you. And I said, it just became too much. I would call and I would put in the report on phone. I wouldn't have a confirmation. And then you guys didn't show up and I looked bad. I needed a web page to do it. So he called me and they put up a Google form. It took them 2 seconds and it was free. And they put a Google form and now I can order it on.
Just Marshalls.
I'm not going to say who it is.
No, because I went to their website 2 years ago and their form was static and I made it a fillable form and I sent it to them. And they said, yeah, we can't figure out how to upload this. So I gave up. I mean, I tried to be part of the solution.
This goes into using the right partners too. Who I refer to can't just be because they smile big and they're nice and they bring me donuts. They've got to be part of my operation and part of my team as a real estate agent. And so if they are not functioning in a way that is digital and easy to use, and they have reduced the barriers to work with them, they need to keep smiling and go work with somebody else. I need the person who is going to help me be fluent in my business, not the person who's likable, but just a cluster. And we've all worked with those, right? We've had that loan officer, the particular loan officers, they're amiable, they're nice to work with, they're gregarious even, but the gregarious people aren't very organized. And they keep missing things, and you miss closing dates because they forgot something. I would rather someone who was all business but got the deal done on time than someone who everybody loved, because that buyer, they're going to use them once. I got to keep using them over and over again. So, and then lastly is being realistic with ourselves, with other people. I cannot show 8 homes in 4 hours. Maybe some of you can. You have this magic fairy dust to get you where you need to go. And so I sit down with my clients and say, look, you want to see 4 homes on Saturday? That's fine. It's going to take at least 15 minutes per home. It takes 20 to 30 minutes to get there. For every 15 minutes you're late for your appointment, I've got to take a house off the list. Which one do you want me to take off the list? When I start setting those expectations for them and being realistic what I can do and not trying to kill myself to make people happy, when it is simply this time-space continuum is not going to alter because my buyer is a relocation client, right? Those demanding folks are going to have to realize there's got to be some realistic. And I got to be realistic on myself. Overcommitting is a huge problem for us. And what happens is we are chronically late for appointments, pissing off the person who is expecting us there in time because we've overcommitted. You need to know how many transactions you can handle a month before you go, I either need an assistant or I need to refer. Because losing your seller because you're never responsive to them, or losing a buyer because you can't get to them, is worse than if you just refer them to another great agent in your office and at least got your referral fee for them, so you can focus well on the clients you have and take time to build a team and get the right people in place to assist you. Overcommitting is a huge part, and it also it stresses us out and makes us burn out and makes us short with others. Delegate whatever you can. This was the worst for me. 12 years of my company, 4 months ago was the first time I hired an assistant. The first year I came in, my boss says, you need an assistant. And I kept saying, no, I like working till 3 a.m. processing spreadsheets. It took me this long to find someone that I could trust. And then when I did, all of a sudden I can breathe now. Like being able to delegate things to that person. And frankly, she's making things better because she has the time to focus on it, because this is her only part of her job. And she's been able to organize things that I thought were well organized even better. If you're an agent who is not on that team, then using transaction coordinators or virtual assistants is going to save you so much time and so much headache. And you've got to think about what your time's worth. So we're talking about delegation and managing time, and now we'll get into the tech stuff. There is a business practice you have to espouse. How much is my time worth? If I want to make $110,000 this year and I want to work 50 hours a week on average, then that means that I'm worth about $42 an hour. A virtual assistant is going to be about $10 an hour. And they've worked with hundreds of other agents to come up with great ideas and ways to put things in place. So you're actually paying for the amount of experience they have, and I don't have to worry about things like taxes and salaries and firing them if I don't have enough production in the winter months. And there's a ton of virtual assistant companies out there that are very inexpensive to help with the things that they can do. There's robots that can do things for you. They can automate your marketing and your client engagement and your CMAs, your emails, and all those things. So that, yes, they cost money, but you're spending time where it needs to be. And I know a lot of agents are out here looking at listings, for example. And you go to take a listing and they want to negotiate your commission down at the $230,000 listing, and whatever you charge. But you need to realize that you're going to be putting yourself probably 10 to 20 hours into this at $42 an hour. That's your minimum cost for doing business with these folks. And so every time they ask you to lower the fee, your commission, you are now giving them free time. You're paying for photos, you're paying for you're doing all these things. And at some point, you are in a reverse of money making. This is a bad business decision. This is the same when I'm dealing with clients that are demanding and hyper active, for lack of a better term, that those individuals need to be dropped early as a business practice if you sense that they're going to be taking too much of your time, that you can't focus on all the other things that need to be a priority. Now, with all those concepts in place, let's talk about how we're managing time. And first is to own our own calendar. Now, I don't mean own our own calendar as in, I don't mean own our own calendar as in, this is mine and nobody else gets to see it. I remember when my assistant did start, she goes, are you going to be one of those people who share your calendar? And I said, absolutely not, because I do time blocking. This is what my calendar looks like every single week. Do you want that to be shared with you? Probably not. So and I'm going to come back to the time blocking in just a second. So owning my calendar means I make the determination of what the priorities are by what goes on that calendar, what I'm dedicating my time to. And I'm like the rest of you. My guess is that you probably woke up on a Sunday scared to death because you looked at the week ahead and saw there was a lot of open space. It was like this open space. If you've ever seen like a space horror movie where they're just floating and nothing in it, right? And you're like, I'm not making any money this week. There's nothing on my calendar. Or the opposite extreme, where I see an open week and I go, yes, I can breathe this week. And then by Monday night, that stuff is full. Everything is there now that I didn't think was going to happen. And I look back at the end of the week and go, man, I'm exhausted. I don't know what I did. And yesterday was one of those days. I had an open afternoon. I had great plans. I had so many things I was going to do. It was going to be this perfect life. At 6 o'clock, I'm like, I've talked to 2 attorneys. I've talked to 2 agents. I've talked to a broker. None of them have read the contract before they call me. I'm freaking exhausted, and I don't know what I did this afternoon because as an open space finds a film, somebody is going to do something with it. So time blocking is the practice of saying, I'm going to dictate what's going on with my day. This goes back to that discipline life. Now, this may look a little stressful for folks, but understand that there is some budgeted flex time here. So when I'm looking at the calendar at the very top, you see I'm alternating in the mornings, workout from 7 to 8, meditation, workout, meditation, and prayer. Those are alternated for a very good reason, in that I am getting too old to work out every single morning. That hurts, right? And it sucks. And I hate working out with a passion. Now, working out, by the way, this wasn't part of the presentation, but I'll throw this out there. One of the biggest things for me in being productive was reducing barriers and access to things. This is why I like an organized desk. Everything's in its place. I know exactly where to grab a pen, file, whatever. And medication, I have to take several pills a morning. And I found that if they weren't laying out on the counter, I forgot about it, even though I had to do it every morning. Putting them in the medicine cabinet created a problem for me. So every night, I now, as month in place, I go and set the coffee maker to grind the coffee, to make the coffee in the morning. I go and set out my medication on the counter so I remember to take it. I have the coffee cup is all set up. So the next morning, there is a system in place that's consistent every day. And it takes all of 4 minutes at night to do that. And it sets my schedule for me. What has what was becoming a problem for me is I don't inherently like working out, but I do like the fact that I've lost 40 pounds in the past year and I want to lose more. And so the benefit and reward was there, but the effort, I just couldn't discipline myself to do it. So then I went and got Apple Fitness Plus. Now here's a couple barriers I had. I didn't like leaving the house. I didn't like being around gross people who were breathing heavy in the middle of the pandemic. I'm not 20 years old. I don't have the build that most of these kids who live in the gym had. And so there's still a little part of me that goes, okay, that's intimidating as hell. And I don't want to be there. And I just really didn't like the whole process. So I got Apple Fitness Plus. Now this is going to be a pitch for Apple, but just want to say, my watch, when I'm wearing it, it tells me what my pulse rate is, my heart rate, all that kind of stuff. It shows up on the screen on Apple TV. They take me through an exercise as a program. For me, I can see where I am. It coaches me to slow down or speed up. Usually it's telling me to slow down because I can overdo everything. I spent $90 on that, so I didn't, damage my carpet or whatever. I watched the TV for 20 minutes in the morning. I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to dress out. I don't have to do all those kind of things. And now I'm working out all the time, sometimes as a stress reducer, because I can do it at home and it's effective. And I know it's working because I am losing weight, but also I'm sore as hell like all the time now. The other thing that worked for me was I love Oculus virtual goggles, but there's a boxing game on there that is somewhat realistic. Like 20 minutes in, I'm literally laying on the floor, sweaty, horrible mess. But my watch is going, you're killing it. Like you've done 3 times as good today. But boxing takes out some aggression for me. It's something I enjoyed as a kid. In this virtual environment, you still get the workout, you still feel sore, and all the things are effective. And those things reduce the barriers for me. So not having to go to the gym, not having to change to go to the gym, then come home and shower, then change for work, being able to do it at the comfort of my own home, having that virtual boxing experience where I can get the workout and take some aggression out. All those things reduce the barriers to get done the thing I wanted to get done. So when you're looking at these tasks here and going, that's just too much, well, what barriers do you have in place? If your barrier to getting things done is you really like to sleep in until 10 o'clock on Thursday, and that's why you started working for yourself, I can't help you.
Right? Your morning just starts a little later, and you set it up the same way, right?
That's right. So you'll see that the 7 to 8 is me time. The after that is the 8 a.m. That's the setting the day. That's when I go do the me time. I haven't still touched my phone. I haven't even drank coffee yet. I get a bottle of water. I go work out or meditate in prayer, and then I go set the day and goes. Now I'm going to set all those, get those things done, schedule I need to. And then I'm going to go to Monday, where you see the respond to weekend calls and emails. Throughout the weekend, unless I have appointments with clients, every email that comes in that isn't urgent, which is 95% of them, goes into an email folder called Monday Responses. Anyone I think of during the week that I need to call back, I put in my Todoist app so that I can get a trigger to say call them back. And then I budget time in that morning on Monday to respond to emails and or make phone calls. After that on Monday, you'll see handwritten notes for edification. Now, this is not handwriting notes for recruiting or handwritten notes for my clients. These are simply, I've seen people throughout the weekend, maybe on social media or on LinkedIn or whatever, that has achieved something, and I'm going to send them a note. Oftentimes it's out of the area, sometimes it's my own agent, sometimes it's other people. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a competitor. If I found something worth sending it to, I'm going to send them handwritten notes. That has nothing to do for me with business. It's just I really think people in the same age like a handwritten note now and again. And then I schedule my time to eat. And then you'll see task batching, and this is when we go do all those other 2-minute things, all those quick things, drafting a quick addendum and putting a DocuSign, answering emails and all the rest. And then you see there's a meeting schedule for me. And then inbox management is just going through on that day's emails. And so I have scheduled time every day to go through inbox management. Now, we're going to get the emails in just a bit, so I won't spend too much time there. And then you see I've gone back to school, so I'm taking classes at night. I have 2 different, actually now 3 places where I'm on the board of directors, and 2 of those are nonprofits. They require a lot of work, so I actually schedule time at night every week to focus on those nonprofits for housing and food issues. And then lastly is recreational time from 8 to 10. And that is whatever I want to do, whether that's, now it's watching TV. So I had focused another time, because what I found was when I put that off and I don't try to watch TV and answer emails, my emails go out quicker. And I didn't lose anything in the show where I have to rewind it. And then I have that scheduled time. I will be honest with you, a lot of that recreation time has now turned into content creation time for side gigs, for creating videos or PowerPoint slides or whatever, but I still really enjoy those things. So for you, your recreation time could be creating the newest marketing campaign, scripting the video you want to do for your marketing, whatever it is. It's whatever time I put into enjoying that day. And so you see this as a rotation every month or every week rather. It's pretty much the same rotation, but I can change most of those things. So if someone needs an appointment, you see that green space there, content creation can certainly be shortened or go away, because those aren't mission critical things. Unless if I have a presentation coming up, I typically finish it a month before it's due. So those critical things can move. The inbox thing can move. These things are all modules that can be moved around the necessity for an appointment. When you are working on things, the Primadora Practice is a very, very powerful tool that's also helped me out because I can get lost in projects. And I've seen that the longer I sit in front of that email that I'm writing or the content I'm creating or the new listing marketing I'm doing, the longer I sit there, the more bored I get with it and the worse the quality. The Primadora Practice is, Primadora is Italian for tomato, because the first person who came up with this was using a tomato timer. And the practice is to break down your work to 25 minutes, because our brains can only function and create 25 minutes at a time. And so when I'm doing video editing, which takes forever, as you know, I have found that the longer I go, the less I care about the ums that I was editing out at the beginning of the video to the end of the video. The more I'm editing, sounds like I'm battling idiots. Very true. So 25 minutes makes me get up for 5 minutes. Every 25, the PromoFocus.io is a free app that you can have on your phone or on your computer. And you set it and go, I'm working on this. 25 minutes, it goes, okay, take a 5-minute break. And then I work for 25 minutes. Excuse me. And in every fourth cycle, so roughly every 2 hours, I'm forced to take a 30-minute break. For me, when I'm working from home, I take my dog for a walk through the neighborhood. It's about a mile or so every day that we walk, and that's my break for 30 minutes. He's a 114-pound golden retriever, so he needs about 10-minute breaks walking halfway through.
Big boy.
Yeah, he is a big boy. So he helps with this, but it gets me out of the house. I do spend a lot of time walking around the property of those breaks. But it gives you a fresh effort. When you sit back down, you're going to find you're ready to engage again after even a 5-minute break. It's pretty meaningful. The problem for me is I keep grabbing coffee every 5 minutes, so they're wired as hell. The next tool, and this one I just did a video on, Apple Focus came out with iOS 15, and if you're not an Apple user, you can take a nap for the next 2 minutes while I talk about this. I freaking love this. So Apple Focus, Apple has been, their launch this past year has been really on mental health, especially with a lot of at-home workers. A lot of us are now functioning that way. They took a big stab at mental health. And what Apple Focus does, and Android may have something similar to this, it allows me to open up the app, say, this is what I'm doing. It's content creation, it's time with the family, it's whatever. And so whatever you set as your time, you can also set parameters as to what apps will work, what notifications come in, whatever. So for example, when it's dinner time, because one of the biggest problems that I had with dinner time was when an alert went off on my phone or my watch, I would look at it. And that broke the focus and concentration of talking to my wife about her day. And so it was just a response. Like I couldn't control. When it vibrated, I had to look down. That haptic measure went off. Now I have it set up that when I click dinner time, there's no notifications. The phone doesn't vibrate, the watch doesn't vibrate, alerts don't come through. And I gave myself an hour and 15 minutes for dinner. At the end of hour and 15 minutes, it pops up and goes, are you still having dinner, or can I let go of this? And now I can let go. And I can release it, and now those alerts come back through. It's very customizable. It can even be down to the app. So if I open up, I use Writer IA when I'm writing a book. When I open that app, it shuts down everything except my wife and my daughters. Those are the only messages that come through. When I'm doing content creation, nothing else works. Like I can even have it say, okay, your streaming apps can't work, to keep me a little more disciplined. But I can quickly tag it on any device, and it shuts down every device for that. And again, it can be based on which app I'm using. It can be based, and it can be location based. So Sunday morning, I put in the Life Point on Sunday morning when it's healthy enough to go back to a mass group of people who are yelling and screaming for worship. When it's healthy to go back there, the second I walk in the door, it shuts down all the alerts except for my wife and my daughters, because that's the only people during church time that I want to be distracted by. And so I don't have to think about it anymore, it just functions. So it's got a ton of features that are automatically triggered. and you can create as many as you want and customize them all. The next app is Callaway. Callaway has just been a godsend. So somebody wants to get on my calendar. What normally happens is I send an email to Lauren, go, do you have this time, or this time open? She comes back and goes, I don't have those times, but I have these times. I come back and go, I don't have those times, but I have these times. And holy cow, what you've done is 6 emails with what you could have sent, which is Calendly. So Calendly plugged into your Office 365 or your Gmail accounts. It knows what's open. And you could say, I want to open up 1-hour appointments, and I can just send a link. And now whomever wants to meet with me can go look at my calendar for just the set amount of time I've given them and added themselves to it. Now you saw my calendar earlier with time blocking. I have had to open, because of Calendly, I've now opened up 2 hours a day that are unscripted time. Now, in my mind, I know what they are, but that means I can send this link to everybody without worrying about it, and they are going to be able to choose the times they want. Now, in my calendar, if I do have to travel somewhere, I also build in that time in the appointment that I have, so that my calendar knows when they can and cannot accept appointments. The Calendly just opens up small blocks of time, and you can do bigger projects. So it's business planning time for my office. So I'm running right now our Gainesville office. And so I set up 4 days where with 1-hour appointments available or 90-minute appointments available over 4 days. I send the link out to the whole office, and it's first come, first served. And the second that they sign up for it, if I set that the calendar opportunities are Zoom or in person, that gives the person a choice. If I say Zoom only, then it automatically sends them a Zoom link. It sends them a calendar invite. It puts it on my calendar with the Zoom link and the calendar invite. It reminds me 24 hours before the appointment, and then it reminds me 15 minutes before the appointment. So that there's no excuse now. If I send out that calendar link from Calendly and Kevin signs up for tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then he's going to get the Zoom link already. It's going to go on his calendar. It's going to go on mine. He's going to get an alert 24 hours beforehand and then 15 hours. So 3 different times, Kevin's been automatically reminded of this appointment. I've been automatically reminded of this appointment, and it's on our calendars. Think about all the time I saved by not having to send reminders, missed appointments, and all the rest of it. And there's a free version, and then there's a very inexpensive annual fee if you want it. Play with it at first. It is a little, there is some couple settings if you want to be super customized with it that take a minute to get, but the rest of it's pretty easy. Doodle is different but similar. So remember earlier I mentioned that Michael and I were scheduling our home inspection. So what happens when I schedule a home inspection? I need to coordinate with the home inspector. I need to coordinate with the buyer's partner. I got to coordinate with the seller to make sure it's available, and the listing agent to make sure the date and time are correct. What Doodle does is allow me to go in and say, here are the times available. So let's say the home inspection is going to be roughly 4 hours. God help us all. I know I need a 4-hour block. And so I'm going to say here on my calendar as the agent, who's the key holder, I have 6 4-hour blocks available in the next 10 days or 7 days that we have as a contingency. Everybody with me? I send that out to the buyer and the home inspector. They tell me what times are available to them when they can meet. I can send it out to the listing agent. They can tell me which of those meetings, and then I hit and say, this is the one. This is the one where most people are available. This is the one that works best for us. And when I hit that, it now sends out reminders to everybody, puts it on their calendar. So again, I don't have to do the follow-up like I used to. And again, I only refer to home inspectors who are willing to do the Doodle, where they and the buyer and I are all meeting a date. Most of the time, the listing agent and the seller, they don't give a crap about when you're doing an inspection. They know they need to leave and they want to get it over with. But certainly, instead of emailing and calling and texting Michael first, and then he's got to get with his partner, his wife, and then I got to do the same thing with the home inspector. And by the time I get back to the home inspector the next day, he's already booked with somebody else who got there first. This allows everybody to vote on it and automate it. Again, I like robots doing the robots work. There's a free and paid version for it. It's great. This is a short-term recommendation for software. I do this once a year. I've done it for 3 years. I've done it once a year for 30 days. Toggle is time tracking. So it syncs on your phone, your laptop. It works on all platforms. And what I do, what it does is first it'll track what applications I'm actively using my computer. So if I have Outlook open or Spark email, it knows that I'm checking email, managing, and it calculates how much time I'm spending there. For things that aren't on my computer, I put it there. I'm at the gym working out, or it's exercise time. I'm walking the dog. I'm hiking this weekend. I'm working on phone calls. This is a risk management phone call versus a recruiting phone call versus a client phone call, whatever it is. And it tracks what activities I'm doing, and it starts to build a report. and it starts to say, this is what you've done with your day. This is where you had time loss. This is what you didn't report. This is where you're spending time. When I first started doing this 3 years ago, and I realized I was spending on average 4.5 hours a day on email, I realized it's time to make a change. Something in my behavior had to change. We tend to believe that the way things are the way they have to be, because how else do you get around not answering email? Well, I'm glad you asked. We'll get there in a second. Email. Emails are absolute time suck. Outside of social media, it's the biggest time suck because it's quick for everybody else to send a message. Often those messages are incomplete and meaningless. We send emails just to notify people. We send emails for whatever. We spend, God bless you, we spend an inordinate amount of time each day sorting email or deleting it. And so there's a couple practices. I am a diehard inbox zero guy. I don't know that everybody needs to be because it does make me crazy sometimes. Like I immediately get pissed off when someone emails me a broker open on invitation and I
unsubscribe right away.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so it took some practices to get this under wraps. And that means I am a very diligent unsubscriber. Because if you think about it, the 2 seconds it took to click unsubscribe and unsubscribe means that I don't have to spend that time deleting every week when that same person is sending me junk mail. I also create filters. And you guys may hate me for this, but I'm not going to go to your open house. I'm not a buyer. And if I were, I have MLS. I don't need your open house invite. Sending open house invites to other agents drives me nuts. I don't need to know about your new listings.
Yeah.
I have MLS. Save your new listing emails for your buyer clients, not for spamming real estate agents. I don't need it. So I have filters. If in the subject line it says open house, we're open, because I'm not going to attend those either, because that's a time suck that has very little value in our current world. I know everybody's like, I love my broker opens. Look, if you're not serving Chick-fil-A, I'm not showing up. If you are serving Chick-fil-A, I'm there for the nuggets and to give you some BS answer to what you think about the property. But there's actually some risk there. When competitors get together to start telling you what the price is, it becomes an antitrust issue. So the value of the opinion of competing brokers who may have colluded to set and establish a price becomes a bigger risk than benefit. If you just want me to see the house, put up a video, do a virtual tour, put 60, 70 photos up there. That's how I'm going to see the house. Now, I know some of you swear by these things and you love meeting with other agents. It makes the seller feel good. You know what makes the seller feel good? The contract.
Yeah.
They love that. Having a broker open where 20 people came through their house and they had to clean up, pay for maid service and leave, and then nothing happens for another 3 weeks. Makes them upset. Same thing with open houses. So for me, those things I don't value those because I have to spend my time and invest in other places. Now, as a broker, I will attend my agent's open houses again if there's Chick-fil-A and they're local, because I'm not going to Lake Anna for an open house. Anyway, so I create filters. If it's broker open, open house, new listing, just sold, those all just go straight to junk mail. Right? I don't even bother reading them. It doesn't come in my inbox at all. I have a Monday box. So beginning Friday night and over the weekend, if it's not urgent, I move it out of inbox and into the Monday box. And then Monday, I have an organized list of who I need to respond to get back to if it's urgent. I used to spend so many weekends just answering emails because I thought agents are going to hate me if I don't get back to them. If it's not a transaction problem, if it's just, hey, where is that form? Because I'm going to be doing this in my marketing, or where are the scripts for emails? Monday's just fine.
And that's fine. And I found as long as you tell them, hey, if it's not an emergency, you're going to hear from me Monday. If it's an emergency, I'm your guy. And as long as you set that expectation, it's fine.
And the funny thing is when you start doing that, because I was scared to death to do it, started doing it. They will email and go, hey, this can wait till Monday.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
So many there to start off with, this is on my mind and I want it off my plate, this can wait till Monday. But subfolder management is important too. So every client email or everything related to that listing, and I only work with listing because buyers smell bad. Oh, no, you're going to start to rot in your car. And,
I thought you were going to write that down.
No, I prefer listings over buyers just for time management purposes, but you can work with either one. But when that client email, when the loan officer email comes in, when their email, when the other agent comes in, I read it, I process it, and I move it to a box for them. Because at the end of the transaction, I can now highlight everything in that subfolder, hit one button, create one PDF in sequential order of all the documents, and now I've got my record. I put it in the paperless transaction system, and I'm done. I can find things either that go into my inbox or got. How many of you have seen people, maybe or you those are people, where you've seen like 32,892 emails?
I got you
in an
beat.
inbox?
I was on a meeting the other day and somebody had 74,000 unread emails in their inbox. You know how many I have right now? 4. And 2 of them are ones that I keep in my inbox because I have to forward them all the time. And that's just how it works. So, you know, somebody says, hey, I want information on your class, I can just forward that email. It's just easier quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a rule that I created years ago. Me and Vince McCamey, the scroll bar rule. We will not go home if there's a scroll bar in our email.
Right.
Absolutely 100%.
And it lets your brain run.
Yeah, exactly.
74,000 emails, that's 74,000 unanswered emails.
And you don't know what you have. You don't know where it is.
That's right. So we treat our inboxes as triage centers. Email comes in, we assess, is it not an issue at all? So delete or unsubscribe.
Mhm.
Is it sick and wounded? That means I need an immediate response to keep them from dying. Or is it walking wounded? They're not going to die. They need a little attention, but that can happen on Monday. I can treat them later. And so I start sorting through the emails or what's there. And that means that when I'm walking the dog, if I do look at my email, it's easy for me to go delete because 90% of them are garbage anyway. Because I know that I treated the other one. So what I'm left with is my focused work. Again, your inbox is not intended to be a task management system. Now, Kevin, the system that works for you and you have these emails you have to forward, that's great. I use notes, and so I have templates. I have somewhere around 112 templates now that are divided into class inquiries that are coming about, because we get, as brokers, we get the same question. How do I renew my license? I don't know, you've been licensed for 14 years. Maybe you should figure that out. That's more maybe association
It's not
stuff.
just no.
Like, it's really not hard. It's 16 hours every 2 years, but yet you've done it 7 times.
How are
and
you
you're
still
still
in
asking, right?
business?
Hey, my license is renewing in 3 days. I haven't taken any CE. Can you help me? Nope. Anyways, but we get career inquiries. I get listing inquiries. So every listing has a note already created with a response to everything they need. So when they respond, I personalize the first 2 sentences, copy and paste them, and send it out. Same thing with COVID. If we have a COVID exposure, we have a certain protocol. I just copy paste the email, make it a little personal in the beginning, and send it out. And so these emails that we're saving, because we might have to refer to them later, is disaster in our mindset. Now, the question is then, what do we do? And again, I have templates for everything. If you're using Gmail or if you're using Outlook, there are template features where you can create these templates and just insert them. I just happen to use Apple Notes for everything, and I keep them there so I can switch between email clients whenever I want to.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I used to use Evernote until Apple really upped their game with notes.
That's something I've struggled with having Outlook here, but not on my Android phone, you know, things like that. Like, even though it's
Just
a
the
different
Android
system.
phone. God, you were doing so well.
I have been thinking about switching to Apple. I think it's about.
Why can't you have Outlook on an Android?
You can have it, but it doesn't. We don't have the full capabilities
Gotcha.
that you would have if you're
Okay.
using Outlook on your desktop.
Yeah, like Outlook has, if you're using the Outlook app and I go to send an email to Tatiana and she's in my organization, it'll tell me whether she's on vacation or whether she's out or whether she's with clients or whether she's busy, because it'll based on her calendar.
Right.
So there are, plus everybody in your company is on the database. You're using that. So anyway, so I get you. I switch email clients about every 6 months because they've come out with some new productivity aspect that I want to try out or something. So I just took it out of that system.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gmail. I find Gmail very cluttered. For me, I don't like the interface at all, as much as I love Gmail as a system. So I don't use that. I use note templates outside.
I'm a big Evernote fan outside of that. So it's probably where
That's right. And I was Evernote for the past, I guess, 11 years or so, but Apple Notes. Okay, anyways. So those templates or those notes are in a library. When my client signs their listing agreement, I have an email that says, here's what's happening next. And I send that. When they go under contract, here's what's happening next. Because they want meaningful communication. When those clients complain to brokers, my agent never gets back to me. You talk to the agent, they're like, geez, I sent them 15 text messages this week alone. I've called them 4 times. It wasn't substantive and meaningful. They want to know what's next. These are incredibly data-driven individuals in our today's culture, and they have so much at their fingertips. So, so email templates I have helped me sort through what's next and answer all their questions, and it lets me adjust them. So if something new is being thrown in my marketing mix, or something different is happening in the marketplace, I can go add it to the template. And the second they're triggered by ratification, the second they're triggered by a new listing, the second is triggered by closing, I have these templates I can copy and paste, and now it becomes less laborious for me. Laborious? Laborious? Some word. It sounded good, right? It becomes less work for me to sit down and go, now it becomes a 2-minute task because I don't have to draft an email. I have to copy, paste, personalize the first sentence, and then send it off. when I take the new listing, I create that email response for buyer inquiries and a different one for listing agent inquiries. The listing agent inquiry is very simple. Read the MLS notes. That's how I respond to every agent, because believe me, I put everything I know in there. Do I have an offer in hand? Did you see it under contract? Because Boomerang app is a great app for both Outlook and for Gmail. It is free and it does a couple things for you. One, it'll help you schedule emails. At 8 o'clock at night, if I send an email to my client, their understanding is I'm awake, I'm working, and they can respond. And what do they expect to happen again? Respond back. And now we're having a conversation that could have been 4 minutes on the phone, but it's 20 minutes by email. So if it is not urgent, I will send it the next morning. And so I will send it after 7 o'clock when I know I'm awake, I'm doing my meditation or exercise, whatever I'm doing. I schedule it for the next morning so that I'm not going back and forth all night long with them. And it starts to train and set up reasonable guidelines for them. Now, again, if it's urgent, they know. If it's something emergency or we're working hard on something that's active, they can do that. They can reach out to me. So scheduling emails really helps. It helps also if you are a team leader or a broker to ensure the rest of your staff isn't feeling like they're forced to work. I did this for years to my staff. They were responding at 9 or 10 o'clock at night because they thought I was expecting a response. It wasn't fair to them. It wasn't fair to me. So now my emails go out at certain times so that they can respond to it during work hours. I set reminders with Boomerang, and there's other tools to do it, but Boomerang's free. It's really awesome. And again, it ties into Outlook or Gmail. If you're using anything other than those two, you are just asking to screw your clients through being hacked and not having a secure system. So Gmail and Outlook. But it lets me set reminders. So a very common habit or bad habit amongst business people is I send that email off to Lauren, and then I keep in my inbox to remind me that I'm waiting for a response from her. What Boomerang lets me do is to send the email, hit a button and going, if I don't hear back from her in 2 days, let me know. And it'll sense when the reply comes back so that I can delete it from my inbox and it'll come back to me. It'll boomerang back to me. See what they did there? It'll boomerang back to me if there isn't a response. Now, another feature that Boomerang does that I think is now being built in, I think it's now on the default Gmail account, but I don't think it's an Outlook, is pausing my email. Most email clients do this. This is when you just need a break. I need to focus on work. I know myself. If an email comes in when I'm working, I'll be distracted. Now with the focus apps that we have and other tools and turning off notifications, I don't think this is quite as impressive as it was when I first started teaching about it. But it does give you the ability to say, I need the world to stop for a minute. I need email to stop for a minute so I can focus on some other thing. And I'll get back to when I get to it. And the last thing that is important to me, because I tend to be all business when I write, is email tone. It'll tell you this seems harsh or overly professional, or hey, did you forget you're in the US because you use big words? So calm that down. And so actually tell me that you're writing at a X level of education and remind me that the average American reads at an 8th grade reading level. And so ask me to back off. Do you really want to use those particular words? Is this the right tone that you want? Is everything happy? Maybe you should put an emoji in there. So I just send emails out saying screw you, but it's got a bunch of emojis, so we're good, right? Right. But it does give me some hints about how people will read it. The next app for email is MailChimp. This is free for your first 2,500 emails a month, which is less than most agents are sending, but probably not the issue with sending more. But this allows people to sign up for your newsletter, so you're not putting them in manually. You can put it on your webpage or your signature line or whatever for your newsletters. It has templates. Some of them are specific to real estate. And here's what I like both. If you are doing content marketing, if you are doing blog posts or vlogging, that content creates what's called an RSS feed. It's a particular URL that pools the content you wrote for your blog or whatever. MailChimp, you can set, and again, this is free, which is awesome. You can set it to pull your content from your website and create emails that go out whenever you want to. So I have a monthly newsletter. All the newsletter is pulling the blog post I did throughout the month and sending it out in a nice, clean format, so I don't have to do twice the work. I no longer create newsletters. I create blog posts because blog posts have an indefinite shelf life. Email newsletters last the 15 minutes and somebody maybe read one of the pieces of content. And the template that they have will either put all your content there, or it'll give a link. You'll go back to the website to read more, which is a whole different marketing class, but it helps you to build traction and get people to sign up for other things. And then lastly, something that they introduced this last month, and I love this, is client journeys. So historically, if I get a buyer who comes to talk to me about buying a home and it's the first time I meet them, I put them in the buyer campaign in CRM. Or I put them in the newsletter, but they could be in the middle of an ongoing campaign about market conditions or the end. With client journeys, you can write out as much content as you want. So I have 18 months worth of content for new seller or new buyer inquiries or just consumers. When I put them in, it starts with the first email and takes them through the entire process to the end. So they're not jumping in the middle of a newsletter campaign. They are getting a full and complete marketing campaign from start to finish. It's unique to them.
And that the journeys is part of the free version still?
It is. Now, I don't know if it always will be, because MailChimp has a habit of saying, this is really cool stuff for about 6 months. And I'm like, now it's paid cool stuff. But even then, so MailChimp, for me, because I have 2,900 people in a campaign as a real estate instructor. I have 5,000 in campaign as an agent. So I've reached that 2,500. It costs me $35 a month. Remember how much we're worth an hour?
Yeah.
If I don't have to create a newsletter, that $35 is still cheaper than even creating a newsletter. And now I'm reaching close to 10,000 people.
Yeah.
All right. So productivity apps. First, my favorite is Todoist. There's a lot of them out there. And there's some really deep stuff that I don't go into this class, like Notion. If you're super geek, like if you like building a website, Notion.io, it's a beautiful thing. But it is an empty template that you have to create your own productivity program from. I love it, but I have spent probably at this point about 50 hours in it and still haven't got it where I want it to. But Todoist is this ready-made app, and Todoist ties into your Gmail or your Outlook calendars. And in Todoist, it lets you do action items. It's to-do items, but it's way more than that. I can put subnotes, I can put attachments to it, I can do reoccurring things. Every Monday, I'm reminded to water the plants. The 15th of each month, I'm reminded to give my dog his medication. And these things are automatically there. I remind myself, birthdays are put in there, so I get the reminder. And it's not on my calendar gunking up everything. It's an action item for the day that it's targeted. And it's very easy to change. And it's also plain language. So if I type in there, remind me next Thursday to make a doctor's appointment, it automatically puts it on a calendar and a due date for next Thursday. I don't have to be specific. I don't click a lot of buttons. I type out a sentence, it does what it does. It ties into the calendar, so I have to have mine on the calendar reminding me each morning about it. And it organizes and ties into everything. Tons of APIs. If you're not sure what an API is, it's a protocol that allows it to work with other applications. So a lot of my time management tools, my CRM, for example, all tie into this. So if I put it in here, it's also included in my CRM, and I can manage it in either place. Your website is another tool that I think is grossly neglected. Now, this is a whole different class, but I will just say, websites are not websites anymore. They're CMSs, they're content management systems. Your videos, your blog posts, your letters to your clients, send-aheads to get them ready for taking photos of the house, what they should do. All of this resides on your webpage, your community information, all of it. When I see somebody on Facebook ask for restaurant recommendations, I already have a Google map with all the recommendations saved on my website. And I can quickly now go respond to them. Oh, you're looking for a restaurant in Fredericksburg. Let me give you a list of my favorite. And I can post it on the website. And what it does is it pulls them back to my website from social media. So this answers the hub and spoke content marketing system, but it also just keeps all my content. Some of it's not public. So that when somebody asks a question, I'm not drafting an email. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just sending them the link to answer their question. What's going on in the market? Boom, here's a link. And it's got an RPR PDF with my content all on it, already on the website. So that I'm not recreating that. And there's no barriers now to me being engaged with questions that are being asked. If I'm standing in the grocery store, because Wegmans and I are like this, if I'm standing at Wegmans and I get a text message that says, hey, can you give me an update in the market? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to grab the link from my website where I've got a video that I've done about it, where I've got the RPR report. I'm going to send them the link. I did it in the line at the grocery store. There's no more thinking about it when I get back home, taking much time. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. And I created an answer to the question in anticipation of the question on a Sunday afternoon watching a football game, right? Especially if you're like me and you're a Washington fan, you got plenty of time to do other things. Yeah. A game is just good content creation time. It's where I'm going to send them to sign up for my newsletter. It's where I'm going to send them to put stuff, enter their buyer onboarding or seller onboarding questionnaire, so it goes straight in my CRM. Excuse me. They can request their own CMA from the website that ties right into Cloud CMA. all these tools are there so that the robot can do the robot work. So I'm not having to manually recreate or do these things all the time. The CRM, again, I don't, everybody asks me in every class, what CRM do you recommend? Whatever one you're going to use. Because most of us only use about 20 to 30% of it, but you got to use it for something. And you got to use something rather. I like a lot of them out there. Most of you have brokers who have offered this to you. You should use what they've already paid for. The one thing you have to watch is, can I export all my content out? If I want to switch to other systems, switch brokerages, that's the key question. Almost all CRMs do some basic stuff. You have Follow Up Boss, which is $200 a month. It's great for teams, especially teams who are thinking about the divorce ahead. How do I split up leads? Who got them? What are they working? I want to keep track of them as the owner of the team.
Is it inevitable, basically?
Oh, I think
yeah, it's definitely
every
inevitable,
team
yeah.
dissolves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you this is a whole different class, but if you get a good person to come join your team, if they're a good person, they're going to want to be a team one day. Then you get them for 5 or 6 years, you're great, right? You should plan for them leaving. Follow Up Boss does some very advanced things. If you're not on a team or running a team, then Wise Agent, which is $20 a month, is going to do great for you, and it ties into Gmail. So it really has to do with you. But database management, keeping track of past clients is how you build a business. The agents are pontificating all day long on how to get new business online. Those agents who are spending 3 hours debating the best way to get business online aren't spending 3 hours working with people they worked with in the past.
Yep.
And let me tell you, because Kevin knows so far I'm talking about. There's some people in town who do a lot of business, and you look at them and go, how do they ever have a repeat client? But they do. All of you who are agents are going to have repeat clients, even things that you thought. I've screwed up transactions before. I've not. I remember one in particular. I intentionally walked away, never put them in a CMA because I hated those people. We did not get along. Getting the house sold was all we could do to stick together because we just didn't mash up. But they still referred their kid to me 4 years later. I thought the relationship was totally wasted, but they still referred the kid. And the woman actually said, she goes, well, we thought you were too hard on us, but you did get the job done better than others. I'm like, well, that's not real. That's a backhand compliment. Thanks. Because you're not always going to be on the winning side of that, but you got to stay in contact with them. They're the least expensive way to build your business. Building new business and hunting new clients every day is the most expensive way to build.
You want to fish in a pond you stock, or fish in the pond that everybody else is fishing in?
That's
exactly right. There you go.
Scanner Pro is an app that I use on my phone. That again, there's 1,000 of them out there now. But Scanner Pro lets me just take a picture of a document and create a PDF, and I can send it and add it and share it wherever I want to. The reason I like Scanner Pro is it cleans up. Even if I get coffee stains on them, if I've got those big, you ask your clients for blueprints and they roll it out across the floor. I stood on chairs taking a picture, and now it's 8 by 11. It's not yellowed anymore. It's not whatever, and I can put it into MLS or marketing. LastPass. Gosh, I can't preach about these.
Oh, I love it.
Password systems will save your life. How many agents, how many of you have logged into a system or tried to log into a system to make a necessary change and go, I don't remember my password, screw it, I'll come back to it. And then 3 weeks later, you forgot about it.
Or you got to change a password, but then you got to go back and change it everywhere else.
That's right.
Yep.
So LastPass syncs up all your passwords, and it does it on all of your devices. There's a fee for this. It's well worth it. It's very inexpensive. But now you're not forgetting your passwords anymore, and it doesn't slow down your business. Trello is an oldie but a goodie. This is for project management. My listings go in here, and it's got templates where everything that can be done on the listing is there. I can assign it to my assistant. I can assign it to the seller. I can assign it to myself. I can keep track of it and notes of it. It's free, and I can move them about on the board as I wish. We mentioned note-taking apps earlier. I've been an Evernote fan for, again, I think I calculated it's about 12 years. And just this month, with the release of the new Apple Notes, have changed over. Mainly because Apple Notes is so slick on the computer. It's now quick notes, where I can just hit a button in the bottom corner of my screen or my phone or my iPad. I can write it out, and if I write it, it transcribes it into the editable text. It's pretty slick. But it also does allow you to add your PDFs to it. Every listing, every client gets their own note where everything's listed in there. The lockbox number down to all the content. I have a communications log, every inquiry, every showing, everything. Every call and text with them is already synced to those things. Evernote does the same stuff. The problem is, to get the best out of Evernote, you got to pay for it. Apple Note is free for Apple users. I can go with either one of them, but if you're in an all Apple system, Apple Notes has really risen to the occasion. Everything else should be Evernote, I think. There are so many of them out there. Those are the two that are most business related. Okay, if you're really into this, ClickUp is another great management tool. This combines all the stuff we talked about in the one platform. It is free. It helps you manage everything in one place. And if you are having a team or an assistant or virtual assistant, you can add them there and everybody can manage it together. It's amazing. You guys can go watch the video on it because I can't explain it any better than that. Even zip forms is good for productivity. Not a lot of people know this. Maybe this is probably next text time class we can do. I just did a class for CRS on this. Excuse me. If we know what's going to happen in January. Have you heard that? Yeah, I don't think NAR is continuing their, well, I know NAR is not continuing their relationship with zip forms, so we don't know how much it's going to cost. Now on my broker wall. But a zip forms has productivity and checklists. So when I enter a listing and I put the date in there, it triggers a checklist. It's all date sensitive. You can customize it. It'll send you triggers on when to do things and how to manage your transactions. It creates templates. When I say new listing, all the forms I want are there and filled. And it also has a clause editor. So my favorite reoccurring clauses I have to add because the forms committee won't add what I like is right there and saved in it. It's a pretty beautiful thing. And then for marketing, just a couple more. Canva, I think everybody knows. On a mobile app, on a phone, you can create any type of branded marketing piece in minutes. Hootsuite helps you manage all of your social media in one place and schedule posts. So Sunday nights are typically my night. I will create 4 social media posts to go out on different platforms throughout the week that all tie into the same story. It could be about anything. And then I just let it go. And so now I know that my content's being pushed out. Actually, this month I did the whole month one at a time for whatever special dates and things going on. And then I can add extra content if something comes up. But at least I know I have a constant flow of communication pieces throughout the week, and it lets me search things on there. CloudSeed AR Moxie works. Again, these are presentation tools. Setting up templates, all you have to do is add in comps is the beautiful thing. You know, CMA should not take all day long to create anymore. Let me get to them added. And then I'll end with this, book recommendations. I've read this twice just this year. It's fantastic. It is probably the best book I've ever read about business habits. James Clear and Atomic Habits. He takes you to the whole process of atomic habits being small little things that result in something big. And the one thing I'll say about agents especially, they all want to know what's the big thing to do. And we all tell them, set goals, set goals. Never has it been, other than maybe the Washington football team, never has there been a team that went to the field not hoping to win. Their goal was to win, but they don't all do it. And it always comes back to the little things they did leading up to the game. Whether their mind was in the right place, whether their talent was in the right place, whether they practiced, whether they got that throw just right. Those atomic habits, the small little things we do all day, are what actually result in meeting the big goals that we have. And then David Allen's book, Getting the Things Done, that I mentioned in the beginning. So that's it. Breathe. It's a lot of tools. It took me years to get them all in place. I gave you a bunch of stuff that you could.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave you a bunch of stuff you can go play with. Most all of it is free, but you can't do it all at one time. You have to pick the one thing.